We will be recording this session, and the recording will be on the website later. As we go along, if you're unaccustomed to joining Zoom, it is usually easier if you remain on mute, because then obviously everybody can hear the speakers and not any background noise. And some people find it helps with resolution to turn the video off too, but I'll leave that with you. I'm sure you'll know by now with using Zoom whether yours will work or not. Please, I've asked you to stay on mute, but please put any questions you have for the speakers in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. David will pick these up and put them to our speakers on your behalf at the end of each of their sessions. We do recognise the pressure you are on in terms of time, especially at the moment. And so we're also exploring providing short half-hour sessions on specialist subjects with our commercial partners. Hopefully some of you will have seen the session we did on the Brexit transition regulations with Roydswithy King in December. It's on our website if you want to have a look at it. We aim to keep those sessions as well as these workshops as topical as possible. So please, if there's anything out there that you think it would really help if they spoke about this, if we did a session on that, then please let us know. Even if the easiest thing is to pop it in the chat box today, David will pick that up and we can work on it for you. Importantly, I want to remind you that nominations are now open for our annual Care and Support West Awards. For obvious reasons, we weren't able to hold an awards event last year, but we're definitely going to be doing something this year. And I'm sure there will be many people you know who really do deserve to be recognised. All the information you need is on our website, so please make a note to go there immediately this session is over. We've made the process as simple as possible so it won't take you long. And I'm going to say a little bit more about it after our first speaker. So turning to today's session, we're going to focus on wellbeing. This is yours as well as that of your colleagues. Anybody who can remember going on an aeroplane will remember that one of the things they say to you is put your oxygen mask on first, because if you're not breathing, you're not taking on oxygen, then you can't support the people with you. So I just want to give you that thought and hand over to Lindsay, who is from Skills for Care. I'm sure you all know Lindsay. She's also an advisor to the Care and Support West board. Lindsay will be followed by Amy Mason-Brown, who joins us from BCE, both of whom have a selection of helpful tips for you at a time when we really do recognise that wellbeing is of the utmost importance. This is where I do my lovely technical bit of sharing the screen. And oh, no. There we go. Lindsay, I'm hoping you're getting a better view of that than me.
Yeah, thanks very much, Angela.
Okay.
I hope everybody can see the slides all right, and I'm hoping that Care and Support West will arrange to send them out to you because there are several links in the slides. So thinking about well-being, Angela asked me whether I could think about top tips to support your teams. I know Amy's going to talk later on a more practical level. So just to start thinking about well-being, if Angela can take us on to the next slide, please.
Sorry, Lindsay.
All right.
I'm multitasking here.
Okay. So this slide is just looking at the elements of well-being that impact on us all. And I think it's absolutely key to think about we're all very, very different. And we always think about person-centered care for those that we are supporting. But actually, we're all individuals. All your staff are individuals as well. And their well-being will be impacted by environmental elements, physical elements, social elements, and psychological elements, as you can see broken down in this slide. We also know that CQC and their well-led Chloe are looking at how staff are supported, and we know as well through research that Skills for Care have done into productivity, that staff who feel valued and engaged and supported are happier, more productive, and therefore your service users end up with a better service. Angie, can we have the next slide, please? So the next slide is about some research that the Care Workers charity did in 2019. So it was pre-COVID, but you can see the very top line is around staff wellbeing. And you'll see that that orange line, it's really important to registered managers, and the turquoisey line is senior staff. That research said that 80% of staff had no formal training to help them manage stress. Obviously, we don't know what informal arrangements were put in place, but 80% said no formal training. 50% of registered managers in that survey, which consulted with over 200 care workers, said that they hadn't been trained in any sort of pastoral care. So maybe that's something to have a think about. I realise you're all absolutely up to your ears, eyes and beyond at the moment, but maybe something that you might have time to consider. The next slide, if Angela will take us on to it, please. I think is the basis for my top tips for supporting your teams. Promote being connected at the very top of the 12 o'clock on this diagram, and check on basic needs, which is at about 4 o'clock. I think it's really, really difficult, isn't it, when we're busy, and we know that one of the first things that can suffer when we're really busy is the opportunity for training and learning, but it's also supervision. It is one of the first things to go when we're running a pushed service, and we wish there were probably double the number of staff that there are, but it is just so important at the moment to check in with your staff. And perhaps you can think of other ways of doing that, perhaps a WhatsApp group for staff, or, you know, just a text message saying, how are you today? It is worth its weight in gold. Thinking about the bubble at about 2 o'clock, encourage self-care and coping strategies. Start with yourself, as Angie said. If you don't put on your own oxygen mask, you can't help others. But maybe think about sharing how you cope with stress. Just one or two ideas. Somebody shared with me recently that rather than just saying I'm going running for 20 minutes and I'm not going to be able to be available, I'm going for my well-being run. So they felt that they were highlighting to their staff and to their colleagues that it's okay to take 20 minutes away from the workplace if you're going to top yourself up. For some of us, it's absolutely essential. I think the other thing that could help you with that self-care is the Mind charity have a free guide and a template for helping people to think about developing their own wellness action plan, or WAP as they call it. So that again is something that might be worth you considering. Coming round to 6 o'clock on that diagram, model empathy, compassion and kindness. As a leader, and we're all leaders in our own way, whether we're a CEO, a team leader, or just a member of a team, we've all got and show leadership skills at some way, some stage. So think about modeling empathy, compassion and kindness. Not easy when we're stressed. We tend to be snappy, short-tempered. But if you can really be mindful of what you're modeling to others, I think that's a great help. A practical tip that I heard about was appreciating staff, telling them that they're valued. And one care provider did that by not only telling the staff that they worked with, but also took the initiative to write to the children or grandchildren of their carers and just say, thanks very much. We know that, you know, your mum, dad, grandparent has been at work a lot and not around so much for you, but they're doing a really brilliant job, and we really value them. So thank you. So just a little idea that you might want to consider. Also, just text messages, all those WhatsApps, just thank you. And are you okay? It just work wonders, I think. Moving round the clock face to have wellbeing conversations. Again, it's really difficult, I know, when we're pressured to find time, but if you can find any way of increasing those opportunities to just check in with colleagues and ask how they are, and really listen to the answer as well. People love to be heard, and really feel heard, as I'm sure you all know. Skills for Care have produced a bite-sized guide to supervision, which, considering the number of times it's been downloaded from our website, is obviously proving very popular. So that might give you some more ideas about how you can conduct supervision in a very pressurized work environment. And moving on to the final bubble at about 11 o'clock, raise mental health awareness. The World Health Organization said there's no health without mental health, and I think that's absolutely true. And looking after somebody's mental health, helping them to have self-care coping strategies, making time for them, telling them they're valued, will all help. The Greater Manchester Resilience Hub have produced a brilliant resource in practical and plain English to help people manage their stress and anxiety and worry. So you might want to take a look at that resource as well. Can I have the next slide, please, Angela? So this slide is just showing you some more resources. I'm sure you all know about the CARE app and website that DHSC have set up for us. So I haven't put this on because I'm hoping you've all got a login and connection with that app and website already. But other places of help, NHS, the Association of Christian Counsellors, the charity, the Care Workers Charity, which I mentioned earlier, who've done that research in 2019 on stress and anxiety in care workers. Future Learn have got a really good psychological first aid course, and the link is on there. And then there's Shout, which runs a free confidential 24/7 text support service as well. And next slide, please, Angela. Skills for Care have got a whole host of resources. And this slide is talking about some work that Skills for Care have done with Sophie Chester-Glynn, who many of you will know either from Manor Community or from the fortnightly, now monthly, I think, co-produced and Care and Support West calls. Sophie had done some research around the BAME community, which we know have been impacted more as a community by C19. So there's some additional resources there, some webinars that Sophie's kindly recorded for us, looking at supporting particularly the BAME workforce. Can I have the next slide, please, Angela? Other resources for Skills for Care registered managers. I hope you're all members of the Care and Support West Registered Managers Network, which Mick and Karen so ably run, and judging by the number of people who are joining those sessions, I really hope that they're supporting you and your well-being when you join those calls. If you don't know about the Registered Managers Networks, I'm sure any of the Care and Support West team will be happy to give you advice. There's other information up there of offers from Skills for Care. that we either support or are directly available on our website. Mick's also set up, I think I'm right in saying, a WhatsApp group for registered managers as well. So there's that local support. Can I have the next slide, please, Angela? Skills for Care have also recorded some 30-minute webinars linked to wellbeing. Leading for wellbeing and wellbeing for registered managers, I think, are absolutely key. The last two mentioned on that list, driving and evidencing improvements in difficult times and meaningful activities, they have yet to be recorded. So if you want to join those sessions, the first one is on the 26th of January and meaningful activities is on the 3rd of February. So you can book onto those and they will be available later as webinars. Can I have the next slide, Angela, please? And just to round everything off and thinking about the well-being diagram that I showed you in the second slide, this is a 5 ways to wellbeing framework, which both the NHS and Mind have used. And it's a little bit like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I think, but for well-being. And very similar to that first diagram I showed you, just using different language and in a different way. So connect, be active, take notice, keep learning, and kindness will help us all through, which I think is a lovely sentiment. And the very final slide is just a link to those wellbeing, leading for wellbeing resources on Skills Care website, and my contact information. I'm a free resource to you, anything related to workforce. Thank you.
That's great, Lindsay. Thank you.
I don't know if there are any questions in the chat box.
I can't see the questions, so I'll just check in with David if there are any.
Okay. No, there are no specific questions at this point, Angela.
That's
brilliant. I'll say thank you all very much. I hope that was helpful, and hand back to Angela.
Thank you.
Except Angela, somebody's saying, I'm assuming you're going to share the slides afterwards.
Yes, we are. Yes, we will. Yeah. We're recording the session as well, so everything will be up as soon as I can sort out the technical side of it. I want to pause. I'll leave Lindsay's information there on the screen just to make life easier if people are looking for that stuff. I just wanted to pause here and remind you of the Care and Support West Annual Awards. Those of you who are frequent flyers at our workshops maybe have come down to the Resound Centre when we were able to do these face-to-face, will have heard me say year in, year out, whenever I'm at the awards, somebody says to me or says to me later, we should have put in for that. We should have done that. We do that really well. And I always say, make a nomination then. I think this year, I probably don't need to, really bang on about it. You know how good the work has been done by you and your teams. So you know immediately now of people who deserve a nomination. My task is to remind you that when we ask you to make a nomination, the judges only see what you write down, what is written down. They have nothing else to go on. So it's really important that the nomination information is succinct, it's relevant, and it highlights what lifts that individual above the normal, what makes them worthy of a nomination, what makes them special. This year, we've added an extra category. We have many categories that cover organisation, management level, deputy level, frontline workers, and various others, including volunteers. So there's something for everybody. This year, there is also the Rainbow Heart Award, which speaks to somebody whose contribution within the pandemic time has gone above and way beyond what we would normally expect of our colleagues. So please bear that in mind. Getting the category right really helps. And obviously the Rainbow Heart category is probably one of the easiest ones to know that it's a relevant one for you. Again, I want to just stress, it's important to state for the judge what lifts this person above the normal. There's so much within the care sector that we take for as normal, even though in the normal real world, I would think people would think that's absolutely exceptional. So think about that. Think about what we're taking for granted that actually is exceptional and is really amazing. Maybe it's somebody that's worked with you for a really long time. And if you start to think now, you can think, well, actually, they really are quite something special. There's somebody who I've been really, really pleased to have around me this year of all times. And finally, my notes to link this with Lindsay and with Amy, who's coming up next, is when people know that they feel valued, that they are valued, like being nominated in an awards category, it does support their well-being. It supports positivity all round for service users, clients, whatever you call them, as well as the staff group. And it's positive for the business. You know, being a winner on your website is quite something if people are looking to commission your services. But most of all, it is about the staff feeling recognised and feeling valued. Thank you. I'm going to step off now and I'm going to invite Amy to join us. I'll move to her first screen. So, Amy, are you there?
Thank you so much, Angela. And hello to everybody on the call. I am Amy Mason-Brown. I am a Curriculum and Quality Director for BCE Group. We are a training provider covering the whole of the Southwest, but we also deliver services across the whole of the country. And I'm really, really grateful to be on your call today. So thank you for having me more than anything. Some of you may have seen me before. If you have, hello again. And if you haven't, then hello for the first time. Next slide, please, Angela. So I'm going to deliver to you a little bit of information around wellbeing. Now, wellbeing is a term that is knocked around so much, and I'm fairly sure you will have been immersed in the word wellbeing for a very long time. But what's really important to recognise, which both Angela and Lindsay previously have said, is that wellbeing is so incredibly unique to everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all term, although it's used as that. So you're constantly being pushed to promote wellbeing, to look after wellbeing. But what's really important to recognise is that wellbeing is so incredibly individual. I'm going to ask you to pop some ideas in the chat bar, if that's okay with you guys, please. I would like to see what are the things that wellbeing for you helps to improve your wellbeing. So for me, an example from me, if I can sit with a book, I am in my happy place. There are people that I know that exercise is their wellbeing strategy, but I want you to just have a think about what helps improve your own wellbeing. Can you drop some ideas in the chat bar for me, guys, please? And I will have a look at those as they are coming through. Good. So we've got meditation and exercise. Those are really, really good ones. I think that they help to improve the endorphins in the system. Having a bath, yes, absolutely. Walking the dog with fresh air, yes. Yoga, yes. Going for a walk, fresh air. And we value fresh air so much at the moment, don't we? Because we're not going outside as much as perhaps we would. Brilliant. Again, walking the dogs, exercise, rowing, that's a fabulous one. Sea swimming, oh yes, amazing. I live in Weston-super-Mare. The sea is sometimes not available to swim in. Brilliant. Meeting with friends, good. Lots of exercise, lots of dog walking, talking, good. Dancing, listening to music, good. Flower arranging, cooking, lovely food, some brilliant ideas there. Rich, you've popped genuine concern on there. You might want to expand that for me a little bit, my lovely, please. So some really good ideas on there. I'll come back to you, Rich, in a moment. In terms of what well-being means, can you see all those different theories on there? Those different ideas, those different strategies are all so unique to different people. And it's really important to recognise that for your staff and your staff teams, it will be different to them too. So having a well-being plan as part of your agenda within your workplace sometimes isn't as easy as it sounds, because all of those individual needs across the board can't always be met straight away. But it's about understanding what those different strategies are for each different person, which is where we're going to go today. Next slide, please, Angela. Okay, so when we think about well-being, it is defined as the state of being comfortable, healthy, or happy. Okay, so that's what the Oxford Dictionary refers to it as. Now, comfortable, healthy, or happy. I mean, those are really good ideals to kind of aim towards, I think. And there are different stages in that comfortable, healthy, or happy, I think, within well-being. So it's what element we're going to go for. Now, it's important to realise that well-being is a much broader concept. Now, well-being on the whole, I think a lot of people would have said previously, pre-COVID, going on holiday helps my well-being. Going away, having time to switch off. However, we have been existing so long in this pandemic that a lot of people working on the front line, working in those extremely important services like yourselves, aren't getting that opportunity to switch off. You aren't getting the chance to stop because it is constant crisis mode. And it is constantly changing. So even in your downtime, you're having to research and find out what new legislation is coming out. What's important to notice there is that well-being includes happiness, but it also includes things like satisfaction and sense of purpose and how in control you feel. A lot of the time we hit our crisis mode when we feel out of control, and that spirals. So the purpose of me coming along today is to talk to you about some of those really easy strategies that hopefully meet some of those needs, to maybe bring along an element of comfortableness or an element of being healthy or an element of being happy. Happiness is a scale, but it's that what is in control and happy for you in the moment. Okay, next slide, please, Angela. Thank you. So the first thing we need to do to recognise is actually what are the signs of low mental well-being? And again, just like what well-being strategies are good for you, what are your signs for low mental well-being, or what might you see within your teams? Again, in the chat bar, folks, can you please add some of your ideas to what might be some of the signs? So again, an example for you. I know that when my mental well-being is quite low, I start to get migraines, and my migraines knock me off my feet. So what are some of the signs that you might see? For some members of my team, when they go quiet, that's when I need to be more concerned about them. Good, we've got some good examples there already. So quiet and reserved, exhausted, can't stay awake. That's a really common one, so that constant exhaustion. People being withdrawn, really good example. Poor eye contact, less chatty, changing in behaviour, upset tummies. Yeah, some of those physiological responses. Absence from work, absolutely, when you have somebody consistently being absent. People being snappy, yes, that really short-tempered, that having very little tolerance and patience. Lack of energy and enthusiasm, not coping with stress as much and off sick, good. And waking up and can't get back to sleep. Sleep is a really important element when we think about well-being and we think about our stress levels and our anxiety levels. If we're not getting quality sleep, then we're not able to put to rest some of those stresses and our stress buckets overflow. So quality sleep is a really important factor in monitoring our well-being. And again, sometimes that's easier said than done. But if we notice that our sleep is really affected, we naturally are more tired, we're more snappy, we have less energy, which then impacts our well-being because we have less tolerance for the day. Less engagement as well. Yeah, absolutely, Sharon. Some really good ideas there. So these signs of low mental well-being, you might recognise in yourself, or you might recognise within your team. And it's really important that you note that, again, it's knowing your team members, having those well-being conversations, as Lindsay said previously. So actually understanding what those trigger patterns are, what are those signs for your staff members. Those are really key elements into how to support them and yourself with your well-being. It's also really important to recognise your own signs. You are all people working in very, very fast-paced jobs that are very stressful. So recognizing when your own well-being is low is one of the first signs to be able to support others, because by recognizing your own and actioning on it, like taking the oxygen mask for yourself in the first instance, then you are able to then support others. And the one thing that people often say to me when I work with them around well-being is that, but I need to make sure everybody else is okay. This is your permission to make sure you're okay too, because your well-being is just as important as anybody else's. So this is your permission to actually take stock and think, okay, what are my signs? How many of those am I displaying today alone on Tuesday? Is it the 23rd of January? We had Blue Monday yesterday. So the idea of being really conscious of yourself in this is just as important as being conscious of your teams. Okay. Next slide, please, Angela. Beautiful. Thank you. So in terms of when we're thinking about managing our well-being, what I've put up, and it's a slight extension from the slide that Lindsay had previously. I've split this into 4 key areas. I'm not going to talk about all of them today, but I'm hopefully going to give you just a couple of strategies in some of those key areas that will help you to have really easy takeaways, really easy strategies that can be implemented in moments. I would love to say to you all, book a holiday, but that doesn't seem like it's going to happen right now. Or I would love to say to you all, if your strategy for managing your well-being is a big spend on eBay, go ahead and do it. But actually, I can't give you permission for that. But what I can do is I can give you some things to take away which are easily implemented, either for yourself or your team, and can really help you in terms of centering that well-being and bringing you back to base. So those 4 key areas that we're looking at, we've got attention centering techniques. We've had some of those examples already on the group chat, which are things like meditation, reflection, really kind of being quite focused on our attention. Mindfulness is a really common one that we see there. We've got reflection strategies, which are very much things that are being reflective, journaling, thinking about some of the things that really work for us and how we can improve our daily lives. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer. We've got expressive and creative strategies. So some of the things that people enjoy in terms of bringing their well-being back is expressing their creativity. Now, for some people, lockdown has allowed that massively. You see all over media and social media, people who've done their lockdown projects. That's brilliant, but not if you haven't got the time to do that. And the first thing that goes when we're very stressed and overworked is our creativity, because we're putting all of our energy into coping. So it's really important to recognize how you express your creativity. Are you a singer? Are you a musician? Are you a painter? Are you somebody who likes to decorate? Are you somebody who likes to garden? Are you a baker? And it's those sorts of things that are often lost in that first stage of our well-being dropping because our energy isn't there to do it. So it's working out what that is for you. And then obviously, healthy lifestyle is something we see all the time. And we know this as social care practitioners, we know that having a healthy lifestyle is so key to our mental well-being and our stress levels and keeping our anxiety low and making us feel really good about ourselves. But again, how easy is that to manage when you're not having lunch because you're sat at your computer, or you're out in the community, or you're working with your service users? It would be interesting to see how many of you actually take a lunch break, because my assumption is a lot of you wouldn't. So that healthy lifestyle isn't just about what you're eating, but as you've already identified, all of those going for walks, that walking the dog, that being in nature, that getting that fresh air. That healthy lifestyle is really, really key. It keeps those endorphins flowing, it keeps your serotonin going in your brain, and it means that you're able to feel more valued and more settled and more grounded. So I'm going to go into these in slightly more detail. And I'm going to give you some techniques that we're going to actually try on this call today. So bear with me. We're going to give it a go. I would like you to try if possible, but if you don't, then just maybe take note of them. Can I have my next slide, please? Thank you. So one of the first things we looked at, and I apologise, there's a lot of writing on these slides. I was aware that they were coming out to you, so I wanted you to have the resource available if you needed to. But when we're thinking about our new normal and we're thinking about how life is changing and how so many things are happening with COVID, it's really important to recognise that we are in a constant state of uncertainty. If you're homeschooling, if you are working in that crisis, if you're responding to COVID, if you're isolating, no matter where you are or what your circumstances are, none of us know what's going to happen in a couple of weeks' time. So that uncertainty has become a new normal, but that isn't a healthy place to be, because we're constantly feeling a threat. So one of the ways that we try and cope with that uncertainty is focus on what's happening now. So that's bringing things back to our present and thinking about, okay, what is my priority for today? What is my focus for today? And what can I manage within that framework? And by bringing it back to the moment and bringing it back to what is, we prevent ourselves catastrophizing. So that projecting our fears and our anxieties and our worries, and we're bringing it back to what is and what we can control. So immediately we're cutting off that panic and we're bringing it back to a control measure. Okay, so by bringing things back into focus and thinking on what's happening in the moment, we're also able to think about what we can be hopeful about. So I'm homeschooling my children at the moment, so I'm really hopeful that we can get some sort of rota going with them, because the 60 million calls throughout the day is a little bit stressful. However, we also might be hopeful that we can go out and meet our family again, or we could perhaps be hopeful to be able to take some time off and be secure in the team that you come back to. Whatever that is, think about those things that you're hopeful about and record them so that you're able to acknowledge when they happen. And another element of coping with uncertainty is talking to people that you trust. Somebody put that in the comments chat earlier on. Talking is a really key element of keeping our mental well-being grounded. So talk to people that you trust, have those networks, get involved in these networks together, but also with your friends and family or the people that you can also rely on and feel grounded with. It's really important that you don't judge yourself too harshly, because we do that. We're not doing enough. We're not good enough. We're not moving forward enough. We're not making enough progress. But in this time of uncertainty, you need to just be okay with what you're doing at the moment is you're coping. And that's really, really positive and really, really important. Okay. Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when we're thinking about what we can control, this is your first exercise. So an element around control is what we can control and things that are outside our control. Our anxiety often hits when things that are outside our control, we can't do anything about it, but that's where our anxiety lies. So we might be really, really concerned with when lockdown is going to end. At the moment, that's outside of our immediate control. We can help bring that about, but that decision is made by other people. So what can we control? And those are things like what you're doing in the moment, how you manage the pandemic, how you respond to those anxieties and fears. Okay, so things you can control might be your words or your actions, your ideas, what things you do in your downtime, what efforts put in, what things can you control that might have gone wrong, what are you doing about them? And then what you can't control is that outside circle. And when that anxiety hits and your well-being starts, a really good exercise to do is to identify what can you control and what can't you control that's worrying you, because there's often a bridge that can happen. And that bridge is thinking about, well, okay, if I can't control the weather, but I want to exercise, what can I do to bridge that gap? And that might be wearing appropriate clothing. So if it's raining, maybe wearing a coat, or if it's snowing, okay, maybe I can't exercise outside unless it's sledging, which is fun. But I can actually exercise inside if I needed to. So if you know that that exercise is really important for your well-being, and what you can't control is how it is outside, you can control your element in that. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is your first exercise in terms of what you can take away. What can I control, what can't I control, and then what bridge gaps that. There won't be things that you can bridge with all of them, but there will be some that you can. And when you've got team members that might be struggling with anxiety and control, to help bring their well-being up, it's worth recentering them with that. What can you actually control right now? Okay. Next slide, please. Brilliant. So when we think about further strategies, so we're now stepping into that kind of that meditative, focusing, calming strategy quadrant of our 4. We're thinking about some of the key strategies with calming, and somebody's already put on the chat that they do meditation, we have exercise, we have focusing. Really good examples. And when we're thinking about calming, what we actually are doing is we're turning off parts of our primordial limbic system. So our fight, flight, and freeze response. Those are our primal kind of responses when we are at threat mode. When we are in our more logical brain, we are much calmer and we're able to rationalize. So part of these exercises are triggering that rational brain, because that rational brain isn't at threat and therefore your well-being is better monitored. So it's really helpful to calm your physiological responses, to reverse your stress response. And when your stress response is triggered, you process information differently and you can feel physically and emotionally taxed. So when we feel exhausted, it's often because our threat response has been working so long and our body has been constantly ready to respond to that threat. And you get home and you just are so exhausted. It's because you've not given your mind that break, which gives your body that break. Okay, this can escalate to chronic stress and fatigue. Next slide, please, Angela. Thank you. So this is an exercise we're going to try now. And this is called square breathing. And you may have come across this before. It's really simple. It's really quick. You can do it anywhere. You don't look daft if you're trying to do it, like you might be if you try exercise in the middle of the supermarket. This is an exercise that can be done anywhere by anybody. And it is about bringing control back to your breath, which brings you back into the moment. And the whole purpose of this is so that you are calming that threat response within your brain and allowing your body to calm and focus. Okay, so I'd like you to try that now. This is an exercise that is used by doctors, Navy SEALs, therapists. It's used across the world in terms of bringing some of that calm and some of that refocusing energy back in. So you're going to imagine a square and you're going to breathe around the sides of the square. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose. And I'd like you to try this now, please. So breathe in for 4 seconds through your nose. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Now hold it, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out, 2, 3, 4, and then hold, 2, 3, 4. Now I'd like you to repeat that. Breathe in through your nose again, please. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathing out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4, and then hold. As you're taking that deeper breath, allow your shoulders to actually drop and your jaw muscles to actually relax. So if you're feeling yourself sat quite hunched, physically allow your shoulders to drop as you're breathing. You are automatically taking in a deeper breath, which calms that limbic system and calms that mindset. Okay, and that breathing, if you can repeat that a few more times, it automatically centers you into the present and calms that panic. It elevates your well-being and it allows you to feel more in control. Something as simple as breathing. Okay, I want you to try just one more time, and as you try and do it this time, really allow your shoulders to drop and your jaw to drop. Good, well done. Okay, so a really simple takeaway. Again, if you have somebody working with you who's prone to panic attacks, square breathing is a really good resource for them. People sometimes also breathe around their fingers too, so they're imagining the breath as they're going around their fingers. But it's a really easy, quick, can be done anywhere, takeaway tool that helps to just recenter you and bring your well-being levels back to center, and then you're able to focus and attack some of those bigger things. Okay. Next slide, please, Angela. Thank you. One of the things we see often, and again, is bandied around so much at the moment, is meditation and mindfulness. Now, those techniques are amazing, but are actually really tricky to do. So if you're very, very busy and you are working very, very hard and you are, you've got lots and lots going on and lots of things on your priority list, taking time out to not medicate, apologies, that's a slip of the tongue. Don't medicate. Taking time out to meditate or to practice mindfulness can sometimes feel like a bigger chore and can add to those stress levels because you're adding to that not good enough bucket if you're not managing to do it. So what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today is the power of guided imagery. Now, guided imagery you can do anywhere. And what's really amazing about your brain is that it doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So people who have an anxiety attack, often that happens because they're imagining themselves in a situation and that imagination is really real for them. It really impacts that ability to focus on what's happening. Or if people who are afraid of flying often have that panic and that anxiety prior to getting on the plane because they're imagining what happens when they're on the plane. People who have exam anxiety, that anxiety is there prior to sitting the exam and then during the exam because they're imagining what's happening. So the power of your imagination is incredible, and we can use that to help our well-being. So a guided imagery is a really, really effective stress management technique. It helps to work with well-being. It doesn't have to be an hour and a half long meditation where you don't move. It doesn't have to be a mindfulness exercise where you have to clear your mind, which is really difficult sometimes. It can be something really simple, as imagining your happy place, wherever that may be. And we're going to do an activity to show you how powerful guided imagery can be. Okay, so please do read around guided imagery if this is something that works for you, because it's really powerful as a stress reliever tool. So please do read further on this. Next slide, please. Okay, there's a lot of text on this slide. You don't need to read it. What I'd like you to do, if possible, please close your eyes. Please feel free to turn your camera off if you wish as well. Okay, so your eyes are closed. What I'd like you to do is imagine you're in a kitchen somewhere. It can be any kitchen, somewhere that feels comfortable. And on a bench is a basket of lemons, bright yellow lemons. You reach out and select a ripe, bright yellow lemon, and you can feel the weight of the lemon in your hand. Slide your fingers over the smooth, waxy skin. Feel the dimpled texture. Feel the weight of it in your hand. Lift the lemon to your face and breathe in that lemony smell. Really take it in. And then you slice open the lemon. As the bright yellow flesh is exposed, you can see the juice run out. A lovely lemony citrus aroma fills the room. You cut a slice and you put it in your mouth. You bite down on it and the juice runs over your tongue. Your mouth fills with the taste of lemon juice. Your nose is filled with the scent of the lemon, and you can feel the acidity on your tongue. Now, hopefully for some of you, your mouth should have started watering. You should have had that physical response to that exercise. You can open your eyes now and take a drink if you need to. But in terms of that lemon exercise, it's about really visualizing the smell and the scent and the color. And with a lemon, it's usually a very physiological response. The same works with vinegar when you're thinking about salt and vinegar on chips or salt and vinegar crisps. Your mouth immediately starts to water as a physiological response. So if we're thinking about visualization as that activity, then we need to really consider, okay, if we can visualize that lemon and have our mouth respond to that, what will happen to our bodies if we visualize ourselves just for a moment, relaxed, happy, at peace and calm? That might be in the bath for some people. That might be on a beach for some people. That might be skiing down the Alps for others. Wherever that place is for you, where you feel most happy and relaxed, keep that image in your mind and return to it when you need again to return to center, when you need that moment of elevation of your well-being. Okay? Our mind has a physiological response to our body. So if we're training our mind to be healthy and happy and at peace and having well-being, then we're training our body to do that too. Okay, next slide, please, Angela. So finally, for me, my final message for you is that self-care isn't selfish. And what's really vital is that in these trying times, self-care seems to come last for the people who are providing care for other people. But it isn't selfish, it is necessary. And it's really, really important that within your practice and within your everyday lives, that there is a moment of self-care. Now, whether that is your cup of tea in the morning before you start your day, whether that is actually taking time for your lunch break, or whether it is having that bubble bath in the evening or walking the dog, that self-care element is vital to your well-being and to managing that well-being that you are in control of. That is everything from me. If you do have any questions, please let me know. Please pop them in the chat bar. I will be monitoring it if you do have any questions for me. Thank you.
Amy, thank you very much. That was amazing. Sorry, my screen has gone to my other screen here. I do apologize. I will, can you, has the slide gone now from the main screen?
Yes, it has, Angela.
Yes, it has, yeah.
Okay, sorry. As some of you know, I work on 2 screens, and for some reason it's flipped to the other one. Amy, thank you so much. David, are there any questions for Amy that we need to cover?
No, but there's lots of thank you very much, it was brilliant type things on here.
That's good.
Oh, thank you ever so much, folks.
There's another one, there's one from Alice, Amy, that you could look at. I'd really like to share the recording with my staff team directly, if that's going to be possible.
Sorry, I couldn't get my mouse to move then. Yes, of course. I think the recording is going out to everybody anyway, so that's fine. And if anybody does want any further information, I'm more than happy to provide any. As I say, we do these sorts of things quite often. I just think it's so important in these times.
Thank you. David, is there anything more?
No, that's pretty much there. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Well, Amy, that was a first. I don't, in my time anyway, we haven't done anything on Zoom that enabled people to do some exercises as you've just conducted us through. It was fascinating and really great. I particularly like the breathing. It's something I use to calm myself down. Especially if I've been watching the BBC News, I go off and do some breathing. I don't watch the BBC News much now. So thank you very much for that. And I want to stress also about being kind to ourselves. I think you've said self-care is not selfish, it's necessary. Give yourself permission to stop and be as kind to yourself as you would be to other people. We tend to forget that along the way. So thank you everyone for joining us and for joining in this morning. Thank you to Lindsay and to Amy for your great tips, for your information. I hope you've all found this a really useful session. Do remember not to feel alone. Care and Support West exists to support you all. We've also got the RMNs for you there, as well as these workshops. On that, our next one, scheduled anyway, is the 10th of February, which will be on safeguarding. And I've got from all 4 of the local authority teams to join us again that day. Before that, though, I'm working on doing a short session on Restore 2 and the virtual COVID ward. So please look out for that. We'll be getting that out as soon as we possibly can. Finally, from me, please do go and make those nominations for the Care Awards. It's really important that people do get recognised now more than ever. So that's it. We're actually finishing on time, which is amazing. So thank you all very much for joining us. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Angela, from all of us as well for putting this on.